Hey everyone, so this is my review of Gotham, Season 4, Episode 3, called They Who Hide Behind Masks. And essentially what this episode is about is that Gordon travels to Miami in the hopes of convincing Carmine Falcone to return to Gotham to help fight against the Penguin. But when he fails at that mission, he discovers that instead Falcone's daughter returns to Gotham with him. And this was a really interesting and okay episode that did have some really sort of great moments to it. And I was a little disappointed that this episode had nothing to do with Scarecrow, because that's one of my main highlights so far for this season, is everything that had to do with Scarecrow. So there was none of that in this episode, but it was a lot of focus on Bruce and sort of him figuring out all this different stuff around Ra's al Ghul. And that was really interesting, with it somewhat being revealed that maybe the benefactor that's helping Barbara to get all these weapons and all this stuff that she needs is possibly Ra's al Ghul, because one of the things that she's asked to do in return for all this money and all these weapons that she's been getting is that she has to go to this auction to try and receive this knife that Ra's al Ghul needs. So that is one of the interesting things, that maybe all that's interconnected. But then Bruce, on his journey of figuring out all these crimes and figuring out what Penguin is up to, also discovers this knife and discovers that Ra's al Ghul is in need of this knife. So he wants to get it out of the hands of Barbara and out of the hands of Ra's al Ghul, and somewhere that he knows is safe, which is essentially with him. So that was really interesting with how all that played out. I especially really enjoyed the scene with Barbara talking to one of the League of Assassin members, and she's saying that she didn't get the knife and that Bruce has it, and his whole reaction around that is very, very interesting. And I'm very curious to see what all this knife actually does, because it kind of shows it in some flashback moments about Ra's al Ghul, but not really. So I'm very curious to know what's all going to happen there. And then also it was revealed that how Barbara survived is that she was essentially possibly revived through the Lazarus pit. So I'm very curious to know what skills or what all Barbara can do now that she's been revived and sort of been with the League and stuff like that. I'm very excited and very curious to see what's all going to happen there. And then all the moments with Gordon in this episode and him being in Miami and talking to Falcone's daughter was very interesting to see this whole different sort of dynamic of a family, where we've met Falcone and we've met Mario, and in my opinion they were very, very similar. But then the daughter is quite a bit different, where she's very much more deviant and very much more in line of understanding what her father does and how she fits into all that and what she could possibly do with that similar power. And that is a very interesting character to me that I really can't wait to see what all she's going to do now that she is in Gotham. And I definitely feel like she is going to help Gordon and fight and all this stuff, at least for a short time. But I also feel like she's still going to have that bit of a connection and memory that Gordon is the one that killed her brother. So she might work with him for a time, but I feel like there is going to be eventually a point where she's going to turn on him or do something to sort of rebel against him. And just like I said, I'm very curious, I'm very excited to see what they're going to do with this character. And just overall, this was a really interesting and really entertaining episode that didn't have a whole lot to it. But there were some really great moments to this episode that I just really, really enjoyed. So yeah, that's my review of Gotham, Season 4, Episode 3, called They Who Wear Masks. So yeah, bye!